2017, and that's how you know you're on the right
Right, yeah,
one.
'cause some people be, it's a damn shame people be doing that. But anyway, child, may they not prosper and may everything they touch fail. All right, I'm gonna say this live so it'll be on there so cheap. I'll tag it so it'll come on your page too. Yeah, this
Okay.
was good. This was good. I haven't been, I don't go live unless Spirit tell me, but Spirit told me to. Ask she, they would not let her Rich to get on. So me and Rich want to do something separate. Because I really want to get in with him with the serpent and the mix, but that's okay. Me and bro will get together. Y'all, somebody can type in the website of the academy or the university. Look, I have to remember because we didn't win official. Or if you need to do an appointment, or you can just DM me, whatever. So it's just like for the students to ask them what they think. I don't mind my references because that's just how I work, right? So y'all have a blissful night. We're gonna ring the ancestors out. Go get y'all books. Go get your stuff. Read your stuff. Catch the YouTube. Catch the channels we told you to. As
Send
for
me a picture of
following.
that book. Send me a picture of that book.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Mhm. Right. So they seen the concert. Then some of the people didn't see the interview after I had read the messages from Mexico from the hurricanes. So to give a little background on weather read, if we remember the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey in his famous whirlwind speech, right? He told us about the ancestors using the weather to relay us messages. So that speech pre-calibrated all of the chiefs to watch the weather patterns while we reading the signs in order to know what's going on across the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he said to look for him in a cyclone, in the whirlwind, right? Look for me in the storms. I'm coming back with the millions and millions of ancestors. That's what Garvey said in his whirlwind speech, right? Tupac put it a little different. Lost in his whirlwind, 96, Bonnie and Clyde, me and my girlfriend. So he still took the idea to pass the message to look for the whirlwind, right? So in 2018, Cyclone Marcus struck Australia. There was a series of sevens in there, which my number is seven, right? And I come in on the third seven seat, which mean the my mother was a seventh seed, I was a seventh seed, my grandfather's seventh seed. So in our culture, that's a lightning strike, a lightning bolt, right? So we don't remember our culture because somebody came in and undermined our processes of passing the culture from generation to generation. Even as we evolve into different levels, we still maintain certain key aspects of the culture. And as I read the culture and I matched up the signs, when that message gave me the cue to get to work, right? And as I began to read the signs, I discovered that on July the 4th, 2019, that's when the contract expired on the constitutional agreement for the corporation to do business on our land, right? So I read this and I look at it, 7-4 is GD. So it's a GD knock. That's a knock to the growth and development nation, right? So we're looking at 20, that's the P stone. And in Chicago, they say 20 mo, right? But they used to have a 21 brick pyramid, right? So when I'm reading the signs and reading the culture, I'm matching up who these people are on the land. I was born a GD. All my family in my age group was GDs. We all grew up GDs. Chicago, the Crenshaw district, um, where we went to Crenshaw Elementary, And we grew up in that area, and that's the area where we tie back like 63rd and Halsted all the way into 59th and Peoria, and varying different areas over there is where we were living at different times when I was a little youngin'. So this how I got affiliated at birth with all of my cousins. We all GDs, all of the ones in my age group. The irony is my mother was the queen of the Vice Lord Nation, Big Red, right? And she went into domestic life and she taught us certain things about reading the signs, and only certain ones of us understand her and what she's telling us. And my father was also teaching us certain things, teaching the boys on really like how to be a man, right? And then these lessons, when we put them together and we follow it through the culture, it teaches us something about who we are and why we here. We have a tendency to think everybody is just here. Ain't nobody just accidentally here. Ain't nobody here that ain't supposed to be here. Everybody supposed to be here, even the ones that we don't want here, right? Because you can't get from under the oppressor if he ain't here. So we got to get from under that yoke. What is the yoke? The yoke is this mental bondage, right? So the mental bondage, the education, and the industriousness that Garvey talked about would lay the foundation for all of the groups, contemporary and to follow, on the father line, which is the Blue Lodge, right? So when we say Blue Lodge, what a lot of people don't understand is the Masonic orders was how we train boys in the rites of passage of manhood and how to use their inner power as their God force to become their God self, or their best self is how we would say it, right? Somebody came over here and took all of our boys out of the training. So now none of them can't develop that God self inside because they keeping it a secret and they keeping it boxed in by people that don't look like us. And the people that's controlling it look just like us, but they ain't us. So all this time they use these many forms of divide and conquer to tear us down. They took over education with their churches and their Bible thumping, and they started to miseducate our children on purpose and teach them that we came over on ships. We was already here. Our ancestors said they didn't see any ships. I had a live earlier today. A brother from Jamaica called in on the live, and he said, "Hey, my ancestors said they didn't see no ships." So what is our ancestors sending that message to the future for? They didn't see no ships. We still don't see no slave ships. We see drawings of slave ships. We see museum replicas where somebody make one in the modern time and ascribe it to what a slave ship would have looked like, right? But we can't find one. Now they find shipwrecks of Chinese fleets that was in the BC period. They find
Yeah.
Viking ships.
They find the Roman ships with the coins still in them, intact and
They
shit like that.
and they know where
As
all of the
as
wrecks
as
at.
rambunctious as these people is, they would have had that shit like an amusement park. Come
They
in, yeah, like put the chains on in the bottom. You know how sick they are.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so they know where all of the shipwrecks at, right? Because they know where to go scavenger hunting for the ships that sunk with all of the wealth on them, right? So now they got us under the impression that we came from somewhere else, and they're using their Bible, so we got to reenact that story in order to unravel it. Because the story is where we tied up in the brain. They force fed us Christianity, so only through understanding that dogma, where it came from and who put it together, can you unravel the magic in it that keeps us oppressed. That's some powerful magic. Cause when we understand who and what we is, we be laughing at that shit, right? Blue pill look at the mathematics in it, right? I look at the science in it, but then I also look at the history of it, right? And so what make this into what it is and how we get free from under the mental bondage. So all this time they've been telling the people they waiting on the Christ to return. They've been telling them they've been under the devil's rule with the all the way in the same book that they put them under the devil's rule with. You know, so
Okay. Yeah.
when I come in now, I come in to teach the people who our true leaders is, why they are not walking on the land. What happened? We at war. We've been at war over 500 years. We ain't never stopped. We never back down, right? So the chiefs on the land that we supposed to have um keeping the land regulated is Larry Hoover, Jeff Ford, Chief Malik Angel Bay, and Stan Tukey Williams. They turn us into criminals while they do the criminal acts they accuse us of doing. Right? Our people is so convinced that they system, the matrix, the artificial matrix, the grand illusion that's constructed in front of your face, you falling for the David Copperfield making the elephant disappear. Right? Only they making your whole world disappear from under your feet, and you was already here. And they're using legalese to do it. And they're using medicine to murder you slowly. Right? So we have to go back to our original culture in order to get the imposters and the invaders off the land. And in our original culture, we put it in the public domain, the demand, and if the people agree, they all step up and agree. And when they all agree on the same thing, that means we really do know who we are now. We no longer under the illusion that we came over on some ships. I done studied the history of both sides of the water. There's no record over there outside of the coastal lands where they imported some of us over to there with a Back to Africa project that predated Garvey, what they called it the Liberia movement, when everybody went to Liberia. And this is when they start infusing that story on that side of the water. Because they ain't know what the fuck we was talking about when we send delegates over there and ask them, why is our people being shipped off from over here on the, y'all, why y'all sending us over there? And they don't know what the fuck we talking about. They clueless, right? So the people that they bring from over here under false pretense, telling them they came from over there, they the ones infused with the doctrine of the slave ship, right? Because over there you have what they call the war tunnels. They call them slave trading. You could feel the energy in there, and they tell them that's where they loaded slave ships. That's not. Those are gateways of the ancestors, is what they was called. And we all went to those types of places all over the world, right? And we went there to commune with the ancestors and to get the overwhelming energy for them to give us instructions on what to do next. Because they can see from the other side of the three-dimensional construct, because they're not trapped in the dimensions of space and time as we are. So we came in, put on these meat suits, and then we got divided up, and we don't even know that if you in your God self, in your God form, all this shit is some shit projected from your psyche. We just all agreed to be here at this time in order to put it together in this particular fashion.
Mm.
And because so many of us agreed to bring this shit to an end, now we got to bring it to an end. right? So then one of us got to spearhead the movement, right? So when I see the brother, the blue pillar, do the mathematics, he know exactly what the fuck he talking about, right? He know exactly what he talking about. He don't give you a roundabout. He tell you exactly what he's saying, and then he give you the reference. I'll be over here. That make my job so much easier because he can
Mm-hmm.
give them the numbers, right? You could do the math on Larry's birthday. Do the math on Chief Malik Angel birthday. You know, pull their birthdays up. Pull up Tuki birthday. Do the math on it. Look up at the stars, what the stars was doing when they was born, and that tell you who they is, and that'll verify it better than I could ever do as a man in this three-dimensional construct. Because the universe ain't gonna lie to you. A man will lie to you. Them numbers don't give two flying fucks how you feel about it.
Mm.
They just gonna tell you what the numbers say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you get to understand what the blue pillar is talking about. Because now he don't even have to tell you from his opinion now. He don't even need an opinion. The stars is here, the North Star here, the Polaris, the Draco is over there, the Cepheus is back here. You know what it means. Now we just got to get our people to snap out of this daze. It's called the hypnosis of life. And from that training session we went through called school, it had us deluded into thinking that the people that told us our history and lied to us every step of the way broke every single treaty they made with the people they tried to replace us with. They didn't even make no treaties with us because we
Mm.
wasn't making no treaties with them,
Mm.
right? And even some of the ones they brought over here and tried to trick into making the treaties with them wouldn't make treaties with them. So now we at the point where we gonna either reclaim our communities or continue to stay in a slave system. If the system is absolutely a slave system, Wall Street was founded on slavery. The United States Corporation was a merger of the Virginia Corporation and the um yeah, Northwest Trading Company. Those were two of the biggest trading companies of the day, and they merged to form the United States Corporation to continue their slave trading enterprise. And by deluding the people into believing they working in the interest of the people, when all the time they are leeches sucking the blood from the people, right? So they told us some man named Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Emancipation Proclamation has nothing to do with freeing the slave. It's a commerce term. Has nothing to do with freedom, liberation. Emancipation means the transfer of an asset. The proclamation is to say it out loud. So he hollered across the goddamn Senate floor and told them, I'm taking all of the personal slaves and putting them into the public domain. So we gonna walk around as straw men. This is in the law books. I didn't make that shit up. They wrote it. I'm just telling you what they was hiding from us because they said if they wanted to hide something from a nigga, put it in the book. Well, I must not be no nigga because I've been in all their books, getting all their little secrets out. So now I come back to tell us what time it is, what we face with, what our responsibility is at this particular time, and to tell y'all our culture and how we done things and to kick the enemy out by reclaiming our own and doing the shit our way. You can't never kick your enemy out your house following his rules. That don't even make sense. He not gonna give you no rules that's gonna help you overthrow him. So anybody tell you to file paperwork with the enemy, they validate that illegitimate system by filing the paperwork. Everything we did was an adhesion contract. It was deception. When they gave us the birth certificate, which is a bearer bond tied to an indemnity account, right? And the indemnity account is tied to a trust. This our money that they've been living off of because they can't keep it from us as long because once we know that it's ours, ancient code of thieves kick in. At any time the rightful owner discovers his property, he have the absolute right to reclaim his personal property. Right? That's the ancient code of thieves. That go back so long, y'all probably gonna have a hard time finding it. It was also oral tradition. It was under Kali Ma. It was the orders of the great Kali Ma. You can live off of it long as you got it. You can charge motherfucker admission to come see King Tut's tomb. But soon as these heirs come back and realize that you got their shit, all they got to do is point to it, and you got to return it. Because once they identify who they are, you have to return what you took. It wasn't put in there haphazardly because they know that the cycles end at the close of the age. Everything must be restored to balance. In order to go from one age into the next, it is the responsibility of those they call the gods of the earth, which is actually the women, to restore the balance to the nature of the earth, and the men is supposed to enforce the rule. But when the men are incapacitated, the women can't do their job. They can't take the children out planting because some predator might come up and snatch one of the babies because the men not in position to protect them. You know, this is where we at. We gotta stand up on our own 2 feet. Can't look for the white man on this one. Because when you realize that the white man ain't white, your feelings gonna be hurt. Because he look like us. Then when you find out you've been playing with one of the motherfucking main influencers' kids, and he the one that was telling you to go do something to your own people because his daddy told him how to rule you, how to run you. Right? So they did
Who you
this.
referring to? Who you referring to?
They were called the Zionist Moors. They came over here as conquistadors. Right? So when you look into history, you look up the black conquistadors, them motherfuckers ain't us. They came over here and brought us war. That's all they ever brought over here is war. And we never stopped fighting. We just was in the conjure war. All of the money of the land is held up until the conjure war come to a close. And the only way to close is for the people to become aware of who they is, because the conjure war was predicated upon you not being able to recover your mind, your God mind. Not your ego self that they told you was who you was. The one that's really you. They tell you to follow your motherfucking ego. They build your ego. They build your ego in education or miseducation, I should call it. Right? So once they build your ego, they already know how to lead that motherfucker. The hard part is to break through the ego and get to the true God form and make them realize, motherfucker, you was walking on air. You didn't need to levitate. You was literally walking across the air. Now you so mentally low vibrational, you can't raise your frequency enough to step out into the air. Because you're gonna hit the ground and you're gonna hit it hard.
Skywalkers.
Those names not just those names for no
For no
reason.
reason. Right, right.
Everybody got a different ability. This is what your X-Men comics is about. They just exaggerate the ability, right? But they exaggerate it so you can have an affinity to the ability that's actually your real ability. Now you just got to turn it down 1,000 to find out how it really works, right? So Cyclops actually looked through people and see their soul. That's why he able to make them disintegrate when he see it, with the power of his eyes. That's just the exaggeration, right? Rogue touch you, absorb your power. She's an empath. Turn it down some. It's just exaggerating, you know. So when we tell people free Larry Hoover, we got to understand that it was an orchestrated, organized government plot of the corporation to undermine us ever reclaiming what we own and who we are. They can live off of it as long as we don't know how to reclaim it. But once we know how to reclaim it, we use our culture. We talk across the land. We use everything that they put on the land to give a message. We use the TV, we use the radio, put it in the songs. You know, I don't care. They say mumble rap ain't saying shit. That's the problem. Mumble rap is mumble rap because they can't say what they want to say, so they trying to mumble the words. Because you know that they used to mumble to get past massa. But we forget that. We can't make that connection because we got short-term memories. We don't have long-term memories. We don't watch the long game. If we was watching the long game, we would have understood we've been locked in war for a long time, right? So you need a warlock to break you free, and I'm the motherfucking witch doctor from birth. I was born to be the witch doctor. So since everybody locked in war, I got to tell them how to unlock it. Call for the three chiefs to walk the land. It is the law of nature that if the three kings don't walk the land, when the people call on them, that Mother Nature will tear this motherfucker up. You don't have to shoot no guns. Mother Nature will tear it. I've been posting receipts on it earlier today on my page. You don't have to do nothing. You don't got to go marching nowhere. That's a distraction. All you got to do is make it known that you want to see the three kings walking on the land, because it's the responsibility of whoever's supposed to be in power to produce that, or the power structure comes down through the aid of the weather, the earthquakes, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, the thunderstorms. All the ancestors coming back. They coming back in the weather. They coming back in the children, and they coming back
Yeah.
from the stars. I don't even like to
Volcanoes.
talk about the stars.
Right. The volcanoes. They just had a hurricane warning the other day. They just had the tsunami warning the other day. We saw the quad state tornadoes, which was actually 6 states. They said it was 44 tornadoes.
Crazy.
That was the day
Tornadoes in
after we did
December,
the
right?
show initially about, Larry Hoover. And what I left out when I finished the show that I wanted to say, when I think somebody had asked me a question about um, being from Africa or America or something to that nature. And I wanted to say that, Cahokia Mounds in the area that Chicago is geographically located, you know, Cahokia Mound is a particular mound where our ancestors met for war. That was the mound for war council. So again, looking and expecting that energy to be templated by people in this environment, you will look towards, the youthful leadership that was coming out of Chicago during that particular time. That there was the youthful war council. You know what I'm saying? It somewhat replicates itself. And the reason, like, even if you look at the Midwest, the spirit of this particular landmass, right, that they call Wakanda, the way that you appease this particular spirit, you feed it. And the way that you feed it corn. So, observe the Midwest demonstration that the European, this colonizer, he's always going to have corn growing, even if it's miles and miles and miles of fields of GMOs. You know what I'm saying? So that's how he keeps his tribute going. He grows corn and tobacco. Those are the two things that you need to feed and appease the spirit of this particular land. But I just wanted to make that observation. When we think about the Midwest and what role does it play, in us reemerging on this soil in our proper person, hundreds of thousands of years later, the ancient mound builders that were in that area utilized that area for war council. All points converged on that particular area of the planet for us to do what it is that we're doing right now. All right, put that on mute.
Yeah, so just to give the people some context to you know, how the brother arrived on the show, I a lot of people just the Rod Hayes and welcome to the family. We had about 1,000 people in the chat room. Welcome everybody in the chat. But the brother Rod Hayes, a lot of people just kept sharing his videos with me. And in an organic way, not spamming me to try to, you know, in an organic way, I would just see this person, that person, that person share the brother's videos about Larry Hoover and the Three Kings. And the brother, I mean, Rod, you say some intriguing, interesting things. And where you know, the place where you come from, it resonated with me. It struck a nerve with me. So I said, damn, I gotta get this brother on the show. And then when the Kanye concert happened, after that went down and they did the Larry Hoover concert, I was like, yeah, I definitely got to get the brother on the show to get some more, have him go a little bit more in depth about what's going on. Why is Larry Hoover named so much everywhere right now? You know, I just keep hearing it every month. I hear it a little more and a little more and a little more and a little more. And you was one of the brothers behind it. I heard you months ago, and I'm like, damn, this brother, he keep talking about Larry Hoover and something spiritual. So that's what made me reach out to the brother family and get him on the show. You talk about our powers. Let me just ask you this, and you know, you just went off in the beginning, and it was powerful. So that was what a way to start the show, brother. I appreciate you for just going in your bag in the beginning. But one of the things you say, you know, we're so brainwashed, as you say. We went to these things we call school, which was just brainwashing facilities, and they don't teach us about these powers that all the spiritual teachers tell us we have. And one thing I heard you say, you talked about the woman. You always talk about the goddesses, and when they twerk and how that affects the weather. Now that's something to an intellectual, somebody who's educated through the school system. That's the craziest shit. They're like, oh, this dude is completely nuts. Tell me
Let's
the
examine it.
science of that. Tell me the science of that, my brother.
So
Twerking.
if you remember when hip hop first started, it used to be a very common theme in hip hop. My grandma and your grandma were sitting by the fire. We used to always be around the fires. The women used to do the conjure with the dance. The rain dancing is the men's job. The earth shaking is the women's job. The sway of the matriarch is an old tradition in our community where the women and so we didn't have to fight bombs. We used the weather. We didn't need HARP. These
Mm,
women are HARP. They Tesla coils
whew,
of energy.
mm,
And when they sync together and they come to an agreement and they dance and they shake the earth shake back,
mm,
right? So when you see all of these local cultural dances, like they got ballrooming in Chicago, that's a conjure. Straight out of New Orleans. When you see them hillbillies box stepping, fox trotting, that's conjure, right? All of these dances are old conjures. They come from the subconscious mind, and people think they're making a new dance. You're not making a new dance. You're remembering an old conjure. The movement of the body, when synced with nature, it's like a ripple in the pond, right? The more powerful the person is, the bigger the stone you drop in the pond, the bigger the ripple, right? So the power of the women is drawn by Tesla coil sequencing. Put them in the ground, line them up, 369, 369.